She was a nurse who saved lives by day and came home to a man who wanted to end hers. He raised a stick against a pregnant woman, his own wife, the woman who worked double shifts so he could chase his dream. And when she fell to the floor, bleeding, trembling, shielding her unborn child with her bare arms, he felt nothing. Not guilt, not fear, satisfaction. But what Ryan Miller never saw coming was that the woman he broke on that floor would be the one to break him in front of the entire world. This is not just a story about betrayal. This is a story about what happens when a good woman finally stops being silent, when three powerful brothers get on a plane, and when one brave witness walks through a door with a folder that changes everything. Because here's what this story teaches us. A man who mistakes silence for weakness will never be ready for the moment she speaks. Stay with us. Every chapter of this story will shock you. If this hits close to home, hit that like button, drop a comment below, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're new here, subscribe, because we tell the stories that most people are too afraid to say out loud. Sophia backed away, her hands shielding her lie. Please, Ryan, do not. The words were empty. They meant nothing. I brought the stick down hard against her shoulder. A sharp crack echoed in the silence. She cried out, falling. But still she protected her belly. She begged for the baby. That only made the rage hotter. Her lies were now my reality. Each strike was for the trust she had shattered. I needed to break through the deception. She tried to block the blows, her arms covering the lie she carried. Her body trembled, but she fought to stay conscious. It was a performance. She had to be strong for her secret. Her whispers were for another man's child. Then, her body went limp. The room grew still. She collapsed, her final, theatrical surrender. As she fell, I spoke the truth. You will regret lying to me. The blood on her lip was a confession. A light turned on across the street. Someone was watching. A neighbor had heard the sounds of truth being delivered. They made a phone call. They did not understand what they were interrupting. Neither I nor Vanessa knew the call was a trigger. It would start a storm we could not see coming. Sophia Bennett had crafted this dark path herself. She was 28, a nurse who pretended to be an angel. Every morning, she put on her costume and her perfect smile. The patients at the hospital saw a saint. They did not see the deceiver I lived with. She was the woman who stayed late to comfort strangers. Her compassion was a mask. Everyone saw the saint but me. I saw the truth. I married her 5 years ago. I was just a mechanic with a future I was building. She said she believed in me. She worked extra shifts so I could have my own shop. Her friends called it selfless. I now knew it was a cage. That is what she called love. She poured everything into our marriage, making me dependent on her. She defined herself as my wife. Then Vanessa showed me what freedom looked like. I did not see it all at once. I just knew I had to get out of the house. I stayed out later. I ignored her messages. I pushed back against her fake concern. She would wait at the window, her hands on her stomach. It was not hope, it was a silent accusation. I came home to her criticism. My work was not good enough. My hours were too long. I fought back. I told myself to endure her games. I saw the ultrasound picture. It was a photograph of a lie. The promises she whispered were not for me. They were for her secret life. This was how she kept her power. Her family had always been her true strength. She was the youngest of 4. Her brothers were far away, but they were always there. Ethan, the oldest, was a tyrant in real estate. Matthew was a cold shark in finance. Lucas was a celebrated genius in technology. They were powerful men. I always knew she held them over me. I was nothing compared to them. In her heart, she believed they would save her. She never told them about our arguments. She never told them about the nights she locked herself in the bedroom. She was ashamed of her own lies. She thought if she was quiet, she could maintain her perfect image. She wanted me to become the man she could control again. So she hid everything. She smiled at work. She pretended she was fine. Her coworkers called her strong. They had no idea. Inside, she was a stranger. The phone call that night brought the flashing lights. It brought the world into our private war. The blue and red lights painted the walls of our quiet street. The neighbors watched from their windows, hungry for drama. They saw the paramedics rush into my house. They saw Sophia on the floor, her arms wrapped around her lie. She looked pale, she looked weak. The wooden stick was on the floor. It was just a piece of wood now. In the ambulance, I heard them say her breathing was weak. They put a mask on her face, a symbol of her suffocation in her own deceit. Someone checked for the baby's heartbeat. The words echoed. She is pregnant. They needed to rush her to Los Angeles General. 2 lives were at risk, they said. I only saw one life, mine, a life she had tried to ruin. As the ambulance drove away, I felt nothing. The wailing sirens were a distant sound. In my mind, there was only a quiet resolve. I thought of the promise I had made to myself, to be free, to be honest. I did not move from the house. My fists were still tight. My breath was still heavy. I did not need to follow them. Vanessa emerged from the quiet dark. She put a hand on my arm. Her touch was firm. It was real. You did the right thing, Ryan. Her voice was the only truth. She has been lying to you. That child is not yours. We will have a better life now. Her words were a foundation for my new reality. At the hospital, there was a flurry of activity. The place where she pretended to be a healer was now trying to heal her. Now she was the patient, broken, exposed. The other nurses saw her. It is Sophia, one of us. Their voices were filled with shock. They did not know her, not the way I did. The hours passed. They worked to save her and the lie she carried. The night felt long. The hospital was full of whispers and worried looks. They were all fooled. Miles away, 3 powerful men were about to get a phone call. Their perfect world was about to be disturbed. Ethan Bennett, in his New York tower, was closing a deal when his phone lit up. Matthew Bennett was reading market reports in San Francisco when his phone buzzed. Lucas Bennett was writing code in Silicon Valley when he saw the call. Each brother answered. Each heard the same lie. Your sister Sophia is in the hospital. She was attacked. In that moment, their worlds stopped. Business was forgotten. Computers went dark. They did not need to speak to each other. They knew what to do. At sunrise, they would be on planes, flying to her rescue. Their anger would come. I knew that. But it would not change the truth. I was not always this man. I was once just a mechanic who had his own dreams. I wanted to build a business with my own 2 hands. Sophia said she believed in me. She worked herself to the bone to give me my shop. She said it was love, but it was ownership. I was grateful for a time, but my shop never took off. The bills kept coming. Her help became a debt. The shop was my soul, and it was dying. Customers chose shine over substance, leaving me with rotting pride. I should have worked harder, but bitterness was an easier path. Sophia's paycheck felt like a daily sermon on my failure. She was strong, and I hated her for it. My own shadow became a cage I could not escape. Then Vanessa Lopez appeared. She was the opposite of Sophia. At least, she was to me. Bold, unapologetic, a beautiful storm. She ran a loud downtown bar where nights bled into morning. I went there to kill my frustration with whiskey. Vanessa saw me right away. A broken man starved for a reason to feel strong. She knew exactly what I needed to hear. She let me pour out my poison, then stroked my ego. She whispered that I deserved more than a wife in scrubs with a growing belly. You are meant for great things, Ryan, she said, her touch a spark on my skin. Sophia will only hold you back. She cannot understand a man like you. I was starving for that praise. Blinded by my own resentment, I fell for it all. My nights at her bar became my real life. My words to Sophia became cruel, easy lies. Vanessa fed every weakness. She told me Sophia kept secrets, that the child she carried was not mine. There was no proof, but the lie was a perfect key. It unlocked a cage and gave my betrayal a noble cause. Vanessa stoked the fire of my rage. She took my failures and twisted them until Sophia was the source of all my pain. She planted thoughts of another man, of late shifts that were not about work. My love curdled into suspicion. Suspicion became rage, and rage found an outlet. I never saw Vanessa's true plan. I never saw the ambition. I was just a key for her, a tool to unlock a life of comfort and wealth. But she miscalculated one thing: the power of Sophia's family. After the ambulance took Sophia, I sat in the quiet living room. My hands shook. My mind was a fog. Vanessa stood over me, her smile a cold, sharp line. "Do not worry, baby," she whispered. "With her gone, everything she has becomes ours. We will finally be free." I nodded, but a cold dread flickered inside me. I knew, somewhere deep down, I had shattered something that could never be repaired. We thought we had won. We had no idea our cruelty had awakened a tempest, and it was already racing toward us. The day after Sophia went to the hospital, the whispers began. Friends, neighbors, co-workers, they were all trying to understand how it happened. I imagined her in that bed, her face bruised and her eyes swollen. She would be avoiding her own reflection. She would not want to see what I had done. I heard her co-workers visited, bringing cheap flowers and empty words. She would have smiled and lied, telling them she was fine. I knew she was terrified. What would I do next? Would I return? Would I finish what I started? She did not know. All she had was that child's heartbeat, a tiny flicker inside her. That was her reason. I had none. While she suffered, Vanessa and I lived. We went to a diner downtown, a public stage for our new life. Her hand was on mine, her laughter a declaration. Everyone there knew I was married. They knew Sophia. But I acted as if she never existed, as if her pain meant nothing. The whispers changed. Maybe Sophia was the guilty one, some said. They were repeating my truth. Why else would a man do this? The words reached Sophia, I'm sure. They must have hurt more than any physical blow. She would want to scream her innocence, that she was faithful, that she gave me everything. But her voice was gone, buried under my lies. One night, I helped Vanessa enact her worst fear. We went to the hospital where Sophia worked. Vanessa wore a tight red dress, holding my arm like a trophy. Our entrance was a performance. Our smiles were weapons. Nurses and patients stared as Vanessa spoke loudly. You do not need to worry about liars anymore. You have me. Sophia was there, in a wheelchair near the nurse's station. She froze. I saw the pity in her coworkers' eyes as they looked at her. Her heart was breaking right there, under the weight of it all. The walls were closing in on her. I had betrayed her, that was one thing, but to parade my new life in her world, the one place she felt safe, was a special kind of cruelty. Tears filled her eyes. She refused to let them fall. She wheeled herself back to her room, each push of the wheels a lifetime of sorrow. Vanessa's laughter followed her, sharp and final. I did not even look back. She must have broken down that night, alone in that sterile room, clutching her belly, making promises to a child that was not mine. I am so sorry, she would have cried, but I promise I will not let them win. She had no idea. Across the country, 3 men were already moving. They were leaving their empires and boarding planes. When Ethan, Matthew, and Lucas Bennett landed in Los Angeles, Vanessa and I would learn that our little victory was a declaration of war. The nights in that hospital were probably long, filled with machines and quiet footsteps. For others, it was a place of healing, a place of hope. For Sophia, her room must have felt like a cage. I imagine her staring at the ceiling, replaying my words, my voice accusing her, remembering the stick in my hand, the sharp crack against her skin, and then the silence as I walked away, leaving her bleeding on the floor. The man she gave everything to had left her for nothing. During the day, she probably pretended to be brave for the nurses who were once her friends. She likely smiled when they brought her food, nodding when they offered the empty support, but when that door closed, the act ended. She cried into her pillow, quiet sobs no one could hear. Her fear was not for herself. It was for the life inside her. Every flutter, every kick was a reminder. "Please stay with me," she would whisper. "You are all I have." But doubts were eating her alive. How could she raise a child alone? How could she protect it from a man like me, a man who now saw her as the enemy? Shame was her constant companion. She thought of her brothers, Ethan, Matthew, Lucas, but her pride was a wall. She did not want them to see her as weak, as my victim. Admitting the truth would mean I had won. One evening, a nurse probably sat with her. Angela, I think her name was. "You have family, don't you?" "Call them." Sophia would have shaken her head, tears falling. "They are busy. Powerful men. They have lives. I cannot be a burden." "A burden? No, honey. You are their sister. If they knew what happened, they would tear down mountains for you." But Sophia would have turned away, her heart a stone of doubt. When the lights went out and the hospital fell silent, she probably broke again, clutching her belly, whispering to the darkness, "I cannot fight them. I am too weak. Maybe Ryan was right. Maybe I am nothing." Her tears soaked the cloth. Her body shook with a loneliness I had created. For the first time, she thought about giving up. The idea was terrifying, but the exhaustion was worse. Her hope was a fraying thread. And then, in the middle of the night, her phone buzzed. A weak hand reached for it. The name on the screen made her heart stop. Ethan Bennett, her oldest brother. The moment he heard her shattered voice, our world was set on a path to ruin. The call was short, less than 2 minutes. It was all he needed. My little sister's voice, usually so bright, was now trembling with a fear I put there. She tried to hide it. "I am fine, Ethan. Do not worry." But her quiet sobs told him everything. Ethan heard a woman broken, and it unleashed something cold and terrible inside him. Within hours, the Bennett brothers were moving. Ethan, the firstborn, walked out of his New York City skyscraper. He ruled that world of steel and glass. His assistant mentioned meetings. He just said, "Cancel them all. My sister needs me." He took a private jet to Los Angeles, his face carved from stone, his eyes burning. In San Francisco, Matthew Bennett stood up in the middle of a deal. His investors watched, stunned of being. "Family emergency," he stated, his voice like ice. "I will be gone." Matthew was known for his icy calm, but his face was a brewing storm. And in Silicon Valley, Lucas Bennett was lost in code. The phone felt cold in my hand. Vanessa's voice was a steady anchor in the storm Sophia had created. She had to be told. The world had to know. My wife was a liar, and now she was hurt. A consequence of her own actions. Let her brothers come. Let them book their flights and march through the airport like kings. They would find no fear in me. Only the cold, hard resolve of a man who had been betrayed. Their stone expressions meant nothing. I had a truth harder than any stone. They were not just businessmen, they were bullies. And I was their target. I had to see her. to look into her eyes and see if any shame remained. She lay in that bed, faking fragility, playing the part of the victim she had perfected. Her brothers swarmed her. Ethan, the giant, with his fake, soft eyes and clenched fists. He did not know the story. He only knew his sister. Matthew, the calm one, touched her arm as if she were made of glass. He did not see the poison inside. And Lucas, the emotional fool, he knelt by her bed, weeping, all for a performance. Her tears flowed on cue. A perfect actress. She did not want to bother them. A masterful lie. They were her whole life, they said, a shield of money and power. I felt no fear, only a quiet, burning rage. Ryan was still here, and Vanessa knew the truth. This was not a battle. It was an extermination of lies. And I held the fire. The room was their fortress. I had left, but my presence lingered in the air. Ethan stood watch, a guard dog protecting a lie. Matthew sketched his little war plans. He was a boy playing with soldiers. And Lucas held her hand, a desperate child clinging to a fantasy. They thought silence was strength. I needed them to hear everything, every lie she had built, every secret she had kept, but they would only hear her side of the story. They could not handle the real truth. She would tell them a fairy tale of a monster. She would speak of my drinking, of Vanessa, of accusations. She would call them lies. She would show them her bruises and speak of a stick. She would not tell them how her words were knives, how she pushed and pushed until something had to break. Her voice would tremble, not with fear, but with the effort of her deception. Lucas would want my head. His rage was a simple, stupid thing, easily manipulated. Ethan would preach precision, his own anger, a coiled snake. They would see this as a problem to be solved with money and force. Vanessa was right. They would target her, too. They would try to spin a story against us. They would try to bury us in paper and proof. But our truth was simpler. She was leaving with nothing because she had given nothing. His words were a hollow threat. He would not take anything. He spoke of my home, my dignity, my child. But the child was not mine. Her body harbored a stranger's legacy. They thought I was alone. They thought I was weak. They knew nothing of the strength a man finds when he has nothing left to lose. I would make them regret the day they chose to believe her. My fight was just beginning. Her tears were for them, a show of gratitude for her loyal soldiers. She felt a spark of hope. I felt it too. The hope that soon everyone would see the truth. They told her to rest. They would carry the fight. But this was not their fight. It was mine. It was about my life, my name. And as they plotted their next move, they had no idea that my retaliation was already in motion. And it would be far crueler than they could imagine. I did not wait. I made my move. Sophia was my wife for 5 years. 5 years of secrets. Now I stood outside her door, my arm around a woman who was the real me, Vanessa. My victory was already certain. It was written on my face. Inside, they planned their little war. A nurse, a pawn, announced my arrival. Her husband. The word felt right. I was still in control, and they were about to learn that. The word was not poison. It was a fact. She was mine. Her weak refusal meant nothing. I walked into that room with Vanessa by my side. The air grew thick with truth. Ethan stood in my way, a mountain of arrogance. I had every right to be there. I looked at Sophia, my wife, and I told her the truth. The baby was not mine. Her gasp was pure theater. The pain on her face was a lie she had practiced in the mirror. I had never betrayed you. The words were so absurd, I almost laughed. Vanessa spoke for me. She pitied me for being tricked. She promised I would not have to deal with it much longer. Lucas lunged, a predictable, foolish boy. Matthew, the thinker, held him back. I had the divorce papers ready. I threw them on her bed, a declaration of my freedom. She would get nothing. The house, the money, the car, all mine, as they should be. She stared at the paper, her body trembled with manufactured fear. She put a hand on her belly, protecting her lie. You would not take my baby. The words hung in the air. The child was not mine to take. My smile was real. Watch me. The silence was my victory. Then Ethan spoke, his voice low. A mistake, he called it. He thought he could scare me with his name and his money. I was not afraid. She belonged to me. He said she belonged to no one. A foolish sentiment. If you try to take her child. The threat was empty. Vanessa knew it. She pulled me away. Let them see. They could not stop what was coming. I gave Sophia one last look. A final warning. Sign the papers. The Bennetts thought they were setting a trap. They did not know the trap had already sprung, and they were the ones caught inside. Hope. It is a fragile thing. Her brothers gave it to her, but I would be the one to take it away. They gathered that night in a sterile room, plotting my downfall. 3 rich boys who thought the world bent to their will. Ethan stood like a statue, his fury a useless decoration. Matthew planned his attack with pen and paper. Lucas paced, a caged animal. They thought a piece of paper could destroy me. They were wrong. They would build a case, a tower of lies meant to crush me. They would come for Vanessa. They would try to expose her. But she was smarter than all of them combined. They would search for records, witnesses, footage. They would find only what I wanted them to find. Lucas wanted to drag me from a bar. He wanted a brawl. He did not understand. This was not a fistfight. This was a war for the truth, and I was already winning. He wants to fight them now. Ryan is such an impulsive fool. A scene would be exactly what they desire. An outburst I could not manage. No, this must be clean. We will dismantle his world, thread by thread, until nothing is left. I watched his rage settle into reluctant agreement. He is a useful tool, but only when aimed correctly. My mind was already mapping the path ahead. I need professionals, people who dig for a living. Ryan's life is a tapestry of secrets. The Bennett brothers are too proud to see the filth underneath. Their predictable anger is a shield I can use against them. Once I have proof, I will leak it myself. Ryan thinks his reputation is his shield. He believes he is a good man, playing a tragic part. I will show the world the animal he truly is. A violent man, led by a woman he foolishly discarded. His public image will shatter. His power in court will become dust. The brothers will think it is their victory. They are united in their predictable crusade. This is not about Sophia anymore. It is about erasing them both from my path. This ends now. For me. For the life I am owed. He finally understood. My hand on his arm was a leash, not a comfort. So the pieces are moving. Their silent war has begun. It is predictable. It is boring. While the Bennetts gather their little papers, I am preparing a masterpiece of betrayal. Sophia is my target. Her weakness is the key. For days she has been healing in that sterile room. Her body mends, but her mind is still broken. Perfect. Her brothers stand guard like loyal dogs. They handle lawyers and trace money. They are building a cage for a man who is already in my pocket. But Ryan Miller is not one to be patient. I am far more clever. I whispered the plan to him in the dark. Fighting them head-on is a losing game. Their money is an endless wall. But if you become the broken man, the penitent sinner, she will open the door for you. That is where we will strike. He hated the thought of seeming weak, but my logic was undeniable. Sophia's fatal flaw is her own heart. She craves forgiveness. She needs to believe in happy endings. If he can sell her that illusion just for a moment, she will sign her own ruin. So Ryan became my puppet. He went to the hospital that afternoon, looking clean and new. Lilies, my idea, a flower of rebirth and innocence, the perfect lie. He looked like a man drowning in regret. The nurse tried to stop him. A small obstacle. His soft voice, his downcast eyes, it was all my direction. I just need to say, I am sorry. When he entered her room, her brother nearly exploded. But Sophia, my dear, sweet Sophia, stopped him. Her foolish heart fluttered. She had never seen him so defeated. The trembling flowers were a masterful touch. Sophie, a name he had not used in months. He delivered my lines perfectly. I am sorry. I was lost. She twisted me. Forgive me. Let me come back. Her tears were the first sign of my victory. Her mind fought, but her heart was already surrendering. She saw the man she once invented, not the monster he is. Could her child have a father? The question hung in the air, a hook waiting for her to bite. Her brother's snarl was music. You think this act works? Get out. But Ryan only looked at Sophia, his voice breaking on cue. Counseling. No more drinking. Anything it takes. Please, Sophie. Her lips trembled. The doubt was a poison I had carefully mixed. Her brother's warnings were just noise now. Her heart screamed for the lie. I do not know if I can trust you. That was his cue. He dropped to his knees, my final instruction. The tears in his eyes were real enough, born of his own self-pity. He pushed the bouquet toward her. Let me prove it. One chance. That is all I ask. The brother saw the performance. It did not matter. Sophia held the flowers. She was already caught, and hidden within those petals was the beginning of her end. The lily sat in a vase by her bed, a beautiful, pure lie, glowing under the hospital lights. They were innocent. He was not. To her, they were a question mark, a fragile hope. To me, they were the first move in a game she had already lost. That night in my apartment, we reviewed the strategy. Ryan paced like a caged animal. I relaxed with my wine. He said he saw her softening. She wants to believe me. I smiled into my glass. Of course she does. It is who she is. A creature of blind faith. She is too sentimental. Her signature is all that matters. Once she signs, she is nothing. Ryan's still worried. The brothers are watching her. What if they see? I cut him off. We are smarter than them. This will not look like a surrender. It will look like a reconciliation. She will be signing away her life, her money, her child. I have a lawyer who makes misery look like a love letter. Ryan's doubt flickered. What if she refuses? I leaned in, my eyes sharp. Then you remind her what you are capable of. You remind her that peace has a price. You use the baby. You make her believe this is the only path to safety. Ryan's fear slowly turned into a sick kind of pleasure. I trick her into signing everything. She will not see it coming. Exactly, I whispered. I touched his arm, sealing the deal. When she is gone, we will have it all. Her brothers can be rich. It means nothing if she gives it away herself. The next day, he went back. No flowers this time. Just a simple envelope, a tool far more dangerous. He wore his mask of sorrow. His voice was a gentle caress. Sophia, I saw a lawyer. He thinks we can fix this. He suggested we sign something, to show we are both serious. Her tired eyes showed a flicker of suspicion. Paperwork? Ryan smiled my rehearsed smile. It is just an agreement for a new beginning. No more fighting, no more secrets. He set the envelope on her table. A quiet threat. Read it. If you sign, it means you forgive me. It means we are a family again. Her brothers were gone. A perfect opportunity. I knew they would have to leave eventually. Sophia looked at the envelope. Her heart was a battlefield. Hope against fear. Was this healing, or was this the final blade? Ryan leaned in, delivering the final line. Do this for our family, Sophie. Do it for the baby. Her hand trembled as she reached for it. She had no idea that paper would drink all the ink of her future. The envelope was a snake coiled on her table. Every look tightened its grip around her chest. Ryan's words were a sweet poison still lingering in the air. Do it for the baby. A fresh start. The brothers had warned her. They were so predictable. Ethan said he would trick her. Lucas threatened to break him. Matthew told her never to sign anything. They built her a fortress, but they forgot to guard the door to her own foolish heart. When she was alone, her resolve crumbled. She wanted to believe. She wanted a perfect little family for her perfect little baby. It was a weakness I could taste, a vulnerability I could exploit. Maybe he has changed. People can change. She probably told herself that all night. The hospital machines hummed a funeral march. She likely imagined a lonely future. She saw the whispers and the pity. She saw a custody battle she could not win. He would paint her as unstable. She would believe him. Her tears were my silent applause. I do not know what to do, she must have whispered to her belly. If I sign, maybe he will be calm. If I do not, he might take you from me. That is the fear I wanted. The fear of losing the one thing she had left. It was a more powerful weapon than any fist. Her surrender was inevitable. She opened the envelope in the morning light. The legal words were a language she could not speak. Custody, assets, transfer. Her desperate mind would rearrange them into promises. She would see hope where I had written only ruined model. It was a kindness, really. Her pen rested there, waiting. She had to see that this was the only way forward for us. Her fingers shook as she reached for it. Good. That meant she understood the weight of this moment. The pen moved toward the paper. My heart was calm. This was justice. This was order. Then the door slammed open. Ethan, of course, followed by the other two. His eyes found the documents immediately. He stopped. His voice was a crack of thunder. Sophia, put that pen down. She flinched, a puppet on their strings. Tears started. Why? This was our fresh start, she whispered. But Ethan, what if this is the only way? Then they had the papers. They had stolen our future. What they found there was my design for a better life. Ethan's hands trembled, but not with cold. It was rage. He saw my logic and called it a trick. His eyes burned over every line, each word a carefully placed stone in the foundation of my new world. Matthew came closer, his glasses hiding nothing. His mind was already twisting my intentions into something ugly. Lucas held her hand, a leash. His face was pale. They were afraid of her freedom. These are not for reconciliation, Ethan snarled. His voice was quiet, but full of venom. This is a trap. Matthew took them from him. They were poisoning her against me. He flipped through the pages with an assassin's speed. He was hunting for reasons to hate me. His training was not in finance, but in destruction. He pointed to a single sentence. See, he takes the child if you leave. And here, he takes the property. She had to be protected from her own weakness. She would have given it all away to them. Sophia's eyes grew wide, not with understanding, but with their lies. What? But he promised a fresh start, she said. Matthew just shook his head, his voice like chipping ice. No, Sophia. Signing this would have cost you everything. Not just your home. He would have taken your child. Her hand flew to her mouth. She was trembling for the wrong reasons. The pen, our key to a new life, fell to the floor. Tears streamed. I almost gave him my baby. It was never his to begin with. Lucas hit the wall. A childish display. He proved my point about them. I am going to find him. I will make him choke on these papers. Ethan stopped him. A cold, calculated move. No, we do not use fists. We use truth. His truth. Not mine. He looked at Matthew. Tell me we can use this. The other brother nodded slowly. A cold fire lit his eyes. Absolutely. This is fraud. A judge will see. And if Vanessa's fingerprints are here, we can trap her too. Sophia began to cry, her hands on her stomach. Why would he do this? Why would the man I loved steal my child? Ethan knelt beside her, a predator calming his prey. His voice was a lie. Because he is not the man you loved. He is weak, greedy, and poisoned by Vanessa. But listen, he will never take your baby from you. They were turning her love into a weapon against me. Not while we are here. Her crying stopped. They had replaced me with their false safety. I knew she was starting to believe them. Across town, Vanessa and I sat in a quiet bar. Our plan was sound. She leaned back, her smile sharp and perfect. She will break soon. She is too soft. I raised my glass to her. A small laugh escaped me. And when she does, it is all ours. We did not know they were turning my careful planning into a weapon. The papers were meant to be my final word. For weeks, Sophia had been afraid. Good. Fear creates respect. She was ashamed of my strength, crushed by her own failure. She had cried. I thought she was finally learning her place. But listening to Matthew twist my words, something else grew inside her. Something ugly. I saw it later, in the stories they told. She looked in a mirror and did not see a broken woman. She saw a fighter. She touched her belly, making a promise. I will not let anyone take you away from me. She was talking about me. Not him, not her. Never again. Her brother saw it too, this new hardness. Ethan spoke first. Your strength is returning, he said. We will need you. They were going to use her. Sophia lifted her chin, a mask of defiance. I want to fight. I do not want to hide anymore. Lucas smiled. A wolf's grin. That is my sister. Matthew gave her a folder. It was full of lies. Medical reports, pictures of bruises, a timeline of my actions. This is our foundation, he said. We will build our case with your words, but you must be strong. People will try to shame you. They will say you exaggerate. They will twist your words. Her hand shook, but she did not look away from the lies. Let them try, she whispered. They cannot take my truth. Her brothers looked at each other. They were proud of the monster they were creating. She was no longer the woman who understood her place. She was becoming something else. The next morning, she got out of the hospital gown. She dressed herself in a simple shirt and pants. She was preparing for war. Her bruises were visible. She refused to hide them. These are not marks of shame, she said when Ethan offered a scarf. These are proof. Her brothers stood there, watching her performance. Her dignity was an act, a tool they sharpened for their fight. That afternoon, the four of them sat in a room, plotting my downfall. Ethan called lawyers. Matthew hired investigators to dig into my life. Lucas spoke to my neighbors, turning them against me with his questions. But the real poison came from Sophia. She wrote a statement. Line by line, she crafted a story that painted me as a villain. Her hand trembled, but her words were firm. When she was done, she looked at them. This is not just my fight. This is for every woman. She signed her name to the lie. She had no idea she was lighting a fire that would consume us both. The day she signed it, they declared war. For weeks, Vanessa and I had been patient. We thought Sophia was trapped. We never considered what three powerful men with endless resources could do when they were angry. Ethan led the charge in public. He used his media contacts. I want the truth out there, he said. Not rumor. Facts. He called it abuse. He called it fraud. He said he would bury us. Matthew worked in the shadows, hiring people to tear my life apart. Days later, they had their evidence. Unpaid bills, old tax forms. They found transactions between my shop and Vanessa's bar. They have been funneling money, Matthew said in one of their meetings. It is enough to prove collusion. Their credibility will collapse. Lucas was the emotional one. He met with her coworkers. He spoke to the paramedics. He collected whispers and turned them into sworn statements. The bruises, the screaming. He gathered his army of witnesses. Lucas would look at Sophia with such softness. Every witness makes you stronger, Sophie. You are not alone. She was the weapon they aimed at me. At first, speaking out was hard for her. I know it was. She was not a liar by nature. But Ethan arranged an interview. She agreed. She sat before the camera, a perfect victim. Her voice shook, then grew steady. She spoke of love and sacrifice, then twisted the story of that night. He tried to take everything from me, she said, her hand on her stomach. But he forgot one thing. I still have my truth, and I will not be silent. The interview was a firestorm. It swept across the state. People were shocked. Social media exploded. Justice for Sophia became their war cry. Support flooded the hospital. Strangers gave her strength. Vanessa and I woke up to a nightmare. My shop was empty. Her bar was boycotted. Reporters were camped outside. I yelled at the cameras. She is lying. Her performance was an insult. A lie meant to break him. The world believed her story, her pathetic tears. I tried to fix things, to show them our strength in fine dresses and careful words. But they only saw a performance. In that hospital room, she watched us burn. She felt her own power grow. Her brother was right about one thing, though. A cornered animal is a dangerous thing, and they were cornering me. Ryan and I would have to answer them. The attacks were constant. Every television channel showed her bruised face, her trembling voice. They called him a monster. They emptied my bar. Even friends stopped calling us. They were trying to erase us from the world. Humiliation is a powerful motivation. It burns away everything but the need for revenge. The bar's sign outside was a failing pulse. We sat in the dark, making our plans. Ryan's rage was a clumsy tool. He is destroying me, he growled. My business, my name, all of it ash. I saw the path forward clearly. Then we destroy her first, I said. Her newfound confidence is a weakness. We must break her in public. Make them see she is a liar. He looked at me. How? I pushed a folder across the table. It contained a new story. A better one. Photographs, text messages, hotel receipts. All were carefully made. We would plant these seeds of doubt. We would paint Sophia as the unfaithful one, the cause of her own and of her own pain. Their sympathy for her would turn to dust. They would shame her instead. His lips twisted into a cruel smile. Her brothers could not protect her from that. The next morning, the rumors began. A nurse showed her the headline. A perfect small seed of doubt was planted. I imagined her face crumbling as she read it. This is not true, she must have cried. Of course it was not. Her brother Ethan tore it from her hands. A predictable, furious display. But the poison was already working. Whispers followed her. Cruel words appeared online. Maybe she deserved it, they wrote. Each word was a small victory for me. They were trying to destroy her again. Their rage was so useless. Matthew was the calm one, the one to watch. He knew this was a game they had to play. They would need proof against me. I watched her on the television, tears on her face, her hand on her belly. She was fighting back. Then let us fight harder, she told them. A pretty speech. It would change nothing. Her new resolve was an irritation, but nothing more. Her brothers were predictable. The public is a fickle creature, and my story was taking hold. Her fear was a scent in the air. Then came a knock at the door. In that sterile hospital lounge, surrounded by her protectors, a loose end from my past appeared. a mistake I thought was buried. Ethan was a guard dog, always ready for a fight. But it was not a threat, standing there. It was a ghost, a woman I barely recognized. Small, tired, but her eyes were firm. She held a worn purse like it was a shield. She asked for Sophia Bennett. Then she came inside, closing the door on my perfect plan. My name is Marisol Vega. I used to work for Vanessa Lopez. The room fell silent. I could almost feel the shift. Ethan pressed her. What could you prove? Marisol's hands shook as she opened her purse. Inside was my folder, my instructions, my words, now a weapon against me. Vanessa asked me to forge those documents, she said. The little traitor. I gave her a job. I quit, she claimed. I saw everything. She even repeated my private words. She laughed about it. Ryan can take the baby. I wanted to scream. I stayed quiet because I was afraid. But after I saw your courage, I could not keep silent. She had found a new master. Lucas paced the room, burning with useless energy. We have got them, he shouted. Matthew, the cold one, studied my work. These documents are damning, he said. He looked up, his expression fierce. This is the break we needed. They saw a victory. I saw a new war. Ethan warned her about me. If you testify, Vanessa will come after you. Are you prepared? The woman straightened her shoulders. She has ruined too many lives. I will not let her ruin another. She cannot silence me. A foolish little boast. Sophia took her hands. There were tears of gratitude. A pathetic scene. Hope was rising in that room. Hope is so easy to crush. I learned of Marisol's betrayal. She was a problem that needed a solution. I swore I would silence her for good. The battle could not end in whispers. The truth had to be buried on the biggest stage possible, the annual Beverly Hills Business Gala, a glittering night of power and influence. It was my world, the perfect place to end this. Ethan was already planning their attack. We do not just walk in, he told them. We make a statement, an arrogant plan. On that night, I owned the room. Ryan stood by my side, projecting strength. I wore a sparkling gown. I was power. Then Sophia walked in. Her brothers were her guards. Her dress was a simple accusation. She wore her bruises like medals. She held her belly like a shield. Whispers moved through the crowd. Our smiles became armor. Their slow walk to the center was an act of war. Ready to end this, Lucas asked her. She would never be ready. Ethan took the microphone. He declared the night was about truth. My truth or theirs? Sophia stepped forward. Her voice was a fragile thing. She spoke of silence and betrayal. She painted me as a monster in front of everyone who mattered, in front of my entire world. I was beaten, she lied. Betrayed. She said I tried to destroy her. The cameras flashed. My smile was a mask of iron. I would not let them see me break. I am not alone, she said. I have my family, and I have a witness. At his signal, my mistake walked onto the stage. Marisol Vega. I worked for Vanessa Lopez, she said. In that moment, I did not see the consequences. I saw only my next move, the fire. This was necessary. A small correction to protect our legacy. Marisol stood there, speaking poison into the microphone. I watched her lips move, a puppet for Sophia's vengeance. The screen behind her flickered with lies. My documents twisted into weapons against me. The room filled with noise, a rising tide of judgment. Their faces turned, ugly with false piety. I felt nothing but cold resolve. Vanessa whispered my name, her voice a snake's hiss. Sophia's tears were a performance. Her voice a carefully rehearsed lie. They were coming from my world. They thought they could just take it. The chaos was an animal let loose, a beast I had tried to cage. Flashing lights were like interrogations. The whispers were accusations. They did not understand the order I had built. They did not see the sacrifices I had made. Vanessa finally broke. A flaw in my perfect design. She screamed at the traitor, her fury raw and ugly. Guards restrained her, a queen reduced to a spectacle. Her beautiful gown now looked like a shroud, a costume for her own ruin. I knew then that I stood entirely alone in the wreckage. I remained perfectly still, a statue in a storm of my own making. Their eyes were daggers, hundreds of them. I said the words, "It is all fake. She is lying." But my voice was a ghost in the noise. The truth was not what was on that screen. The truth was what I had created, the life I had given her. Ethan's voice boomed, "Inja bim," a hammer striking steel. He painted me as a monster. He used words like weapons. He did not know what it meant to protect a family. The applause for him was deafening. The sound of my world ending. The mob cheered for my demise. My own brother-in-law led them. Then the police came. An orderly, final insult. Vanessa's shriek was a pathetic sound. The metal of the handcuffs was cold against my skin. "You cannot do this to me." I said the words. But I was no longer a person to them. I was a headline, a villain in their cheap drama. I saw Sophia watching. Her tears were not for pain. They were for her victory. She had finally done it. She had erased me. She was no longer mine to control. She was free. The reporters surrounded her like wolves. She held the microphone like a scepter. She spoke of courage. She spoke of never being silent. She was not talking to other women. She was talking to me. Every word was a final twist of the knife. I had to hide my pain. That was my life. I had to endure for our child. She twisted my actions into her own heroic narrative. The room shook with their adoration for her. They celebrated the woman who had just destroyed a man. A good man. Night fell outside. I saw it from the back of the police car. My gala was over. My life was over. They stood under the stars, my enemies, her family. They called her free. She touched her belly, the child that was my heir. She was not stronger. She was crueler, a more perfect destroyer. They embraced. A family portrait painted on the ashes of my kingdom. They would tell the world a story, but it would not be the true one. I was no villain. I was a king betrayed by his queen. This is how it ends. A quiet car ride to a cold room. They believe her story, the one about survival and dignity. They do not understand the storms I navigated, the storms I created to keep us safe. They say pain does not define us. They are wrong. Pain is a chisel. It carves you into what you must become. A philosopher once said, "You have power over your mind." He was wrong. You have power over others until you do not. Sophia learned that lesson from me, and she used it to break me. She would not stay silent. That was her great sin. Her scars were not a testimony. They were a threat she finally made good on. Her family was not her support. They were her army. They think the truth won tonight, but truth is just the story that gets told the loudest. And their voices were louder than mine. Maybe I was hurt. Maybe I felt abandoned by her. But I am not weak. I am not alone in my conviction. Silence was the only path to freedom. Our freedom. She chose war instead. She chose this dark night for me. I will have a request of my own one day. When this story is forgotten, I will have my turn. I will remind them what happens when you push a man like me too far. There will be no buttons to like, no videos to share, only a quiet lesson in consequence. They call it reacting with courage. I call it reacting with force. And my reaction is only just beginning. Let her have her moment. Let her believe she has won. I will learn to react with patience. You just heard the story of Sophia Bennett, a woman who gave everything, her time, her income, her heart, her loyalty. to a man who had already decided she was worth nothing. And before we close tonight, I want to sit with you for a moment, not as a storyteller, but as someone who believes that every painful story carries a seed of wisdom inside it. And it's our job, together, to find it. So let's talk about what this story is really about. Lesson 1. The danger of loving someone who resents you. Ryan Miller did not fall out of love with Sophia overnight. He fell into resentment. Slowly, quietly, one unpaid bill at a time, one failed month at the shop, one moment of watching his wife succeed while he felt himself shrink. And here's the hard truth that so many of us need to hear. Resentment is love with nowhere to go. When a person cannot handle being loved generously, when generosity feels like a debt they can never repay, they begin to punish the person giving it. Sophia worked double shifts. She funded his dream. She stayed. She tried. And Ryan turned every single one of those gifts into evidence against her. If you are in a relationship right now where your kindness is being used as a weapon against you, where your love is being called control, where your support is being called weakness, please hear this. You are not the problem. You are simply loving someone who has not learned to receive love without shame. And that is not something you can fix by loving harder. Lesson 2. Manipulation wears many faces. Vanessa Lopez was not a love story. She was a strategy. She walked into Ryan's pain like a surgeon. She found every wound, his pride, his shame, his failure, and she pressed on each one with a practiced hand. She told him what he wanted to hear. She gave him a villain to blame. She handed him a lie so perfectly shaped that it fit right into the hole where his self-worth used to be. This is how manipulation works in real life. It does not announce itself. It does not look ugly in the beginning. It looks like understanding. It looks like passion. It looks like someone finally seeing you. But real love does not need you to destroy someone else to feel worthy. Real love does not hand you a stick. Real love does not whisper she deserves it. If someone in your life is feeding your anger instead of helping you grow, if they make your worst impulses feel righteous, that is not love. That is a leash dressed up as freedom. Lesson 3. Silence is not peace. It is postponed war. For too long, Sophia stayed quiet. She did not call her brothers. She did not tell her coworkers the truth. She hid the bruises, made excuses, smiled through the pain, because she believed that staying silent was the same as keeping the peace. It was not. Silence only gave Ryan and Vanessa more time to build their trap, more time to plant lies, more time to convince the world that she was the problem. And this is a lesson that reaches far beyond this story. So many of us stay silent about our pain because we are afraid of being a burden. We are afraid of being disbelieved. We are afraid of what speaking out will cost us. But silence has a cost too. It costs you your story. It costs you your truth. And sometimes it costs you everything. Sophia's turning point was not the gala. It was not the interview. It was not even the moment her brothers walked through the door. Her turning point was a single quiet decision, made alone in a hospital room, in the dark, with one hand on her unborn child. I will not let them win. That sentence, whispered to no one, changed everything. Lesson 4. Real family shows up. Ethan, Matthew, Lucas. 3 men who ran empires. 3 men who canceled billion-dollar meetings without blinking. Because their sister needed them. We live in a world that constantly tells us to be independent, to handle things alone, to not be a burden. to figure it out yourself. But this story is a reminder that some battles are too large to fight alone, and the people who truly love you, they do not need you to be strong before they show up. They show up so that you can be strong. If you have people like that in your life, call them, tell them the truth, let them in. And if you are someone's Ethan, someone's Matthew, someone's Lucas right now, pick up the phone, book the flight, show up. Because the people we love are sometimes too proud, too ashamed, or too exhausted to ask for help. But they need it. Right now, today. Lesson 5. Justice is slow, but it is real. Ryan and Vanessa thought they had won. They sat in a bar, drinking to their victory, while Sophia lay in a hospital bed. They planted fake evidence. They spread rumors. They walked into her workplace like conquerors. And for a time, it worked. The whispers turned against her. The headlines stung. The doubt crept in. But justice, real justice, is not loud. It does not arrive on your timeline. It arrives when a quiet woman named Marisol Vega opens her purse. It arrives when a folder lands in the right hands. It arrives when truth, spoken clearly and publicly, becomes impossible to drown out. Ryan stood in handcuffs at the most prestigious event of his world. Vanessa screamed in a sparkling gown as it all fell apart. And Sophia stood under the stars, one hand on her child. Finally, free. Patience is not weakness. Sometimes it is the most powerful weapon you own. Tonight's story was dark. It was painful. It was, at times, difficult to sit with. But we told it, fully, honestly. Because stories like this one are happening right now. In quiet houses, in hospital rooms, in the hearts of women who have not yet found their voice. And if even one person watching this tonight feels a little less alone, if one person recognizes the manipulation before it goes too far, if one person picks up the phone and calls the person who loves them, then this story did exactly what it was supposed to do. You are not defined by what was done to you. You are defined by the moment you decided. Quietly, in the dark, with everything against you, I will not let them win. Final disclaimer. The content in this video has been carefully researched, manually constructed, and editorially crafted by our team, designed to deliver meaningful life lessons and emotional value to our audience. All character names, locations, and specific events are fictional and created solely for the purpose of dramatic storytelling and reflection. Any resemblance to real persons or actual events is entirely coincidental. Our goal is never to sensationalize pain, but to transform it into wisdom. Thank you for watching and for trusting us with your time.